So every episode that we do requires some level of research. Oftentimes it's really dry and dull, and I'm looking at studies and statistics and numbers and percentages and trying to bring it to life in some way that makes it interesting and educational for you guys instead of, just pouring over lots of text and content. So we bring it to you in video format. This time, in preparation for this episode, I got to watch a lot of Duck Dynasty, which was really fun because my husband's a huge fan, and we love the Robertson clan. And today we get to have on Jep and Jessica to talk about their story of adoption. Jep and Jessica Robertson are known from the reality series Duck Dynasty and have impacted families around the world with their exemplary faith and fun-loving personalities. Jep is the youngest son of Duck Commander founders Phil and Kay Robertson and stars in the new Fox Nation spinoff Duck Family Treasure. They have a new show. It just aired the third season. Jessica, his wife, since 2001, is noted for her dedication to their 5 children, including their adopted son, Gus, who we talk about today. They co-authored a book about the personal journey and starred in the spinoff Jep and Jessica Growing the Dynasty. The couple also just released their first children's book, which celebrates the beauty of adoption and the unconditional love from family, called Dear Valor by Brave Books. Both Jep and Jessica are active in their community and church, promoting faith, family, and American values. I am so excited to welcome them to the show. I'm Christine. I am the host of the Speak Out podcast, and I love you guys. My husband actually is a really, really big fan of Duck Dynasty, so this is cool. He's kind of sad that he doesn't get to do the podcast. Jep, I wanted to ask you, the Robertson family has been well known for years, which is really cool, and we're so excited to have you on the show. When did you and Jess kind of start to realize that, wow, this is actually something really big and we can have an impact because we're growing too as a family and there's a lot of people who look up to us?
It was really a very specific time. We had just done season 2, I think, and I went to Walmart of Duck Dynasty. And I went to Walmart and I go in there and somebody's like, "Hey man, you're one of the Robertsons, right?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And they're like, "Hey, I get a picture." I'm like, uh, "Okay." And I took a picture and I kept going. Somebody else come up, "Hey man, you mind if I get a picture?" I'm like, "Yeah, that's fine. That's cool." And I spent like an hour and a half just trying to get out of Walmart. And I remember calling her and I was like, something weird is going on because everybody wants a picture all of a sudden where yesterday they didn't. And you know what I'm saying? It was so strange. It was like it just flipped one day and like everybody started watching. I was like, this is fixing to get weird.
Do you feel the same, Jessica? Was it kind of a similar experience for you?
Yeah, I definitely think the beards stand out. So everybody wants a picture with the beard. But yeah, there was, for me, it was I was traveling one day to Texas to visit a friend at her ranch, and it was just me and the kids. They were little. And maybe River was probably like, I don't know, 6, 7. And I was in there and they were, I want this candy, talking about that. And all of a sudden somebody came up to me and said, they were like, "I heard River talking and I knew it was him. Can I get a picture?" And I was like, okay, so they were recognizing my kids' voices and then seeking out photos. And I was like, that can get a little weird. Like, whoa, people are knowing my kids. And it kind of, it's cool. Obviously, it was like a video scrapbook we had for 7 years of their life, which is pretty amazing. But it's also one of those like, oh, Mama Bear, like, whoa, people are knowing my kids and seeing them and know who they are from television. So that could be a little alarming, but people are so nice. I mean, everybody was so nice and wanted a picture and, those sweet things. So obviously we recognize that and we wanted to use our platform to glorify God, which is one reason why we came out with this children's book even years later of adoption, because it was so heavy on our heart to share with the world.
Yeah, I can understand how, like, when you have kids and you have that instinct to protect them when there's, complete strangers who know their names and know things about them, or, hey, you just had a birthday. That's probably a little bit weird. Jep, what was your favorite thing about being part of Duck Dynasty?
I'd say mainly just being with family. Because I grew up. It's funny because everybody's like, "Oh man, the cameras make you nervous and all that," and I'm like, "No, actually, we filmed all of our hunts and stuff. So in the hunting community, we were kind of we were well known, I guess, and I used a camera a bunch. I mean, I filmed a lot of our hunts and stuff, and so moved to Duck Dynasty would just seem like a bigger version of what we were kind of already doing, and yeah, I think just hanging out with fam and it's just laughing together. I mean, really, I wish we had just all the outtakes because there's times where because people are like, "Oh man, y'all show," like later would say it was so scripted and you guys are all actors and stuff. I'm like, "Oh my gosh, you think you could script my dad and my uncle's side? Like impossible." The stuff they say is so random and crazy. It's like that's not scripted. That'd be the best writer in the world that could write all that stuff.
Well, now you guys have a new show called Duck Family Treasure, and it just aired a couple days ago, right? And it's on Fox Nation.
Yeah.
Season 2 or 3?
Three.
Okay. So my husband has watched a little bit of it. I haven't gotten a chance to see it yet, but I look forward to doing so. I did get to do a lot of research on you guys, which is fun. Who gets to say that they're watching Duck Dynasty and listening to the Roberts for research and for work? So that was really fun. But what is this new show? How did it come about? And give us a little bit of background on it.
Yeah. So basically, Jace kind of bought the oldest property in Northeast Louisiana, and my dad's friend, Mr. Murray, told my brother, he's like, "Dude, you can go metal detect, and like there's some awesome old stuff in that ground." And Jace was like, "I'm metal detecting? That's for old men at the beach. I'm not doing that." And but then Murray just was persistent and said, "Look, let me come show you how to do it." And so they did, and they started finding coins from the 1800s and like this really cool old like buttons and stuff. And he was sending me pictures. He was like, "Dude, you got to come try this." So I went and I found a 1881 Indian head penny, and I've always been a coin collector and baseball cards, everything. And I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is really cool." And we just did it for fun. Because Jace had that property, we'd go over there like every weekend and just hunt. And eventually Fox was like, "Hey man, a lot of people are following you guys on social media and stuff and want to see y'all do this. Y'all want to do a show?" We were like, "Oh, sure. We're doing it anyway, so might as well."
Oh, that's so fun. I know, Jessica, you love antiquing. I do too. I probably would say that maybe I would prefer that because it's in the air conditioning versus something outside. But has he found anything cool that you've liked that you would have picked up in an antique store maybe?
Oh goodness, I love the coins. I mean, he keeps, the ones that he for the show. They usually give it back to the landowners, and so that's really a cool thing to get to do, is share that history. But I love the old coins. I like obviously my version of treasure hunting too. I love getting out there and doing it with them, but I feel like the things that I have found at estate sales, flea markets, garage sales growing up. Like I found my first set of pearls long before Duck Dynasty, when we didn't have any money at all. I went to a garage sale and I bought a pair of pearls for $20, and I was like, oh, which is a lot of money to me. $20 is a lot of money to spend at a garage sale, and you don't know if they're real or not. But I took it to a local jeweler, and he was like, "Yeah, they're real." And I was like, "Well, how much are they worth?" And he was like, $1,000. And I was like, so that was kind of one of my bigger finds back in the day. I found just the past year and a half, I went to a estate sale in Texas, and it was this kind of round bowl with a cover on it. It was silver, or I didn't know what it was, but it was super heavy. And it was the last day of the sale, which is usually the best time to get really good deals. And he goes, "You can have it for $5." And I was like, "Okay, it's worth $5 at least." And I get home and Jep turns it over, which I didn't even look at, but it was from
England, 1850s England.
It was worth like $1,600.
Yeah.
Wow. That's a find.
Yeah.
Because like the cool old stuff has like a stamp on it. That's what we've learned. Is like there's some kind of hand carving of who made it and whatever. And we found a lot of that stuff too, just in the ground. So
yeah. It's like, I don't know what this means, but it looks important and it looks like it's going to be worth something. So you guys are very outspoken about your Christian beliefs, and we love you for it. Have you guys faced pushback, being reality stars or being in the media for having and holding Christian beliefs dear?
I would say we've gotten way more positive. That's the one thing people tell me to this day, every day when I go out and I see some random person, they'll say, "Thank you for making a show I could watch with my whole family. I didn't have to worry about, I didn't have to fast forward anything. There was not going to be anything weird on there." So I hear that way more than the
Yeah,
other. So
I think so too. I think we've gotten such support. And not that there isn't negativity, but usually like we don't look at that on social media. We don't like if you say something negative. I've told my girls this when they were growing up and now they're, young adults, and you immediately block them, erase them. They have no presence in your life. Like you don't have to sit there and ponder because the social media world can be so hateful, right? And so you don't have to allow that. You don't have to allow that abuse or bullying. And so if I see that negativity, I just immediately erase it. I'm not going to sit there and ponder on it because it holds no value, and they don't know who we are as believers.
Amen. So you guys have a beautiful family. I mean, your extended family is massive, but between you two, you had 4 beautiful children and then you adopted another beautiful child. I'm curious, what was it that made you want to adopt your 5th child?
when we were dating, Jess said, "I want to have 5 kids." And I was like, that's a lot of kids. It's your body. I mean, I don't know. That seems tough. But she was very adamant. And then we had 4, and she couldn't have any more kids. And she wanted to adopt. And I was like, "No, we're good. We have a lot of kids. We're fine." And then I went on a mission trip to the Dominican Republic. We had an orphanage there, our church did. And I met these kids, and I mean, it was just the most awesome thing. I was like, I could take all these kids home with me. And as soon as I got back, I told her, I was like, "Okay, I'm ready. I'm all in." So we started the process.
Yeah.
So Jess, tell us a little bit about what the process of adoption looked like for you guys.
So for us, we adopted domestic, and we went through a private adoption agency attorney that we come to really just love. Her heart for these children are amazing, and so we went that route because at the time we were filming Duck Dynasty, and we had 4 kids of our own, and we wanted just that protection. So we had a closed adoption. And so we don't really know anything about us as birth parents at all, genetic dispositions, anything. But we started it, and it was about a 9.5-month, 10-month process. We had a couple fall throughs and kind of heartache. So it's not always just roses, right? When you're going through this, I mean, our heart was we love children so much. We were fortunate to have 4 children. We were super young, but at this point I was 35, 34, 34 when we started this process. And so we were still young. We were just wanting to expand our family and love another child and bring them into our lives and change their lives and our lives forever. I mean, Gus has been, I say, probably more of a blessing in our lives than I can't even imagine being in his life, because he has just changed our world so much. But so it's about a 9.5-month process total. But man, totally worth it. All the tears and everything. He came to our life out of the blue, and we met him and took him home the next morning. So it was a whirlwind.
Do you have any advice for somebody who might be listening and wanting to adopt and is dealing with some of that heartbreak of a situation that they think, oh, this is our time, we're going to be the chosen family? I know a lot of times there's books that people give and say, these are the families you can choose from, and they think it's going to happen and then it doesn't. And they're kind of in that season of waiting.
I mean, I would just say, it's worth the wait, and God is in control. He's sovereign, and He has the right child that you're supposed to be their mommy and daddy. At the time, we were working with another birth mother who was deciding at the last minute she wanted an open adoption. And at the time, we really just did not feel like that was a good thing for us. And so when this child came in our lives, it was out of the blue, literally. And she was wanting a closed adoption. And so we just knew God put us there at that time in the hospital to be able to love on this baby and take him home the next day. So you will know it. You will know when it's your time and it's right for your family. And it doesn't mean if it's hard, that doesn't mean it's a no. It doesn't mean that's a closed door. It just means to just wait and be patient for him.
And I would say this, like, it's a really awesome way to really see how we're adopted um, sons and daughters of God. Like when you actually adopt, you see that story, and it's like, oh my gosh, that makes so much more sense now when you adopt and how God adopts us. It's really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it takes so much genuine, unconditional love in my mind to be able to do something like that. And I think it's so beautiful. I was a single mom, and my husband married me and has essentially raised my son, so to speak. And it's something watching him do that and love a child that wasn't biologically his. It's really powerful and gives you so much respect for the people that can do that and love another child like their own. So you guys wrote a children's book called Dear Valor with Brave Books. We're huge fans of Brave Books. And your book is about the challenges that adopted children and their parents, may face over the years. What are you hoping for other children to learn, since it is a children's series with this book?
Yeah, here it is. Cute little Dear Valor. So yeah, when we came with Brave Books, and we just fell in love with like their mission and what they do and all the life lessons that are in all their books. We're really just hoping that a child that maybe isn't adopted, they can kind of empathize with another child that is, and they might look different than their mommy and daddy. Obviously, Valor is a tiger who is adopted into a lion family, and he starts to notice, and other kids actually ask him like, why are you different? Why do you look so different from your mommy and daddy? So, and we've had those conversations with our Gus, because he is a Black child adopted into a white family. And he's had, even as a little young boy, he would ask us, why he's different. Why is he brown and we're gray? And, so that we had those hard moments, and it's hard, at that moment, because you want them to know, like, you're no different from us, right? You are loved just like our biological kids. There's no difference. We drink out of the same glass, just like I did with my other, kiddos when they were little. And so there's no difference for us how much we love him, but he feels different. And so it's a way for other people, parents and kids, that can have those conversations with their kids to like have some sort of sympathy towards these other kids that feel different, right? That to maybe help them, to make them feel like they're a part of the family, of their friendship family too, when they're at school. But it's a beautiful story of unconditional love, no matter how you come into a family.
Yeah. So there was a situation you guys mentioned on social media where he was trying to scrub. You said he's a Black child, so it's an interracial adoption, where he's trying to scrub his skin color off because he wanted to look like you guys. How has that, when he first started noticing I look different than mom and dad, transformed to how he feels now? Is there a little bit of a timeline that you can share with us there?
Well, I was actually there when he was doing that. He was in the bathtub, and he was about 3, and like she said, that's what he said. And you can learn a lot, I think, about race and stuff with kids, because he's saying it right. He's like, he called us gray back then, but now he would say pink. But he's like, no, he's like, black and white. That's not true. It's not black and white. It's like brown and pink, and like he, his colors are way more accurate, I think, and the difference is a lot smaller, to be honest with you. But yeah, it was sad, like him doing that. I mean, because he was upset. He was crying, and I cried, and I was like, buddy, God made you just the way you are. You're beautiful, and I mean, it was tough, and it's still tough. I mean, still to this day, I mean, there's other kids that are just kind of like, what is going on there? And
like when he started first grade, we lived in Texas for 5 years, and then we moved back here 2 years ago. But even just moving back here and starting over, at a different school, he is also really tall. So he's, like I said, we don't know anything about his parents. And he's probably a foot taller than most kids in his grade. So he is not only different color, is also really big for his age. And so he feels different, right? And we've had lots of conversations over the years. And, this past year, I feel like there was a little change where he was like, at the beginning, he did not want to be bigger. He wanted to be little. He wants to be small, And I was like, buddy, there'll be a time when you love being a bigger kid
Oh
because he
yeah.
loves sports, right? And so now he's embraced that side of things. And I feel like we talk a little less about color difference because we hit it head on when there were obviously there was you have to acknowledge it. There's difference there, right? So it made it easy to talk about you have different birth parents and you have different where your God chose us to be your forever family, your forever mommy and daddy, and so that was an easy thing for us because it was an obvious thing. We have to acknowledge us and but that doesn't mean there's not going to be bumps in the road. Obviously, later on in the book, he wants to discover who his parents are and he wants, to reach out to them. And we haven't had to face that yet with our Gus because he's little, but there might be a time where he wants to, and we will support that, no matter how it ends. It's just being really honest and open about what this could look like, what are the pros and cons and what this can look like. But through everything, I mean, Jep can tell you, I would adopt again in a heartbeat. So, but he's like, Jess, okay, we gotta calm down.
At some point, we just adopt animals now. To be honest with you,
We do have a lot of animals.
A lot of animals roaming around here.
Well, and our oldest is 21 and almost 22, so there'll be a time where we become parents, and so I'll say, okay. But like I said, I would never feel like I have enough kids because I would love any child as my own.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Jess, if you could say one thing to Gus's biological mother, it's so beautiful that she chose life, I think, and in a world where a lot of people would suggest maybe something different. If you could say one thing to Gus's biological mother, what would that be?
Oh gosh, now you're making me cry. I mean, just the gratitude, like being so grateful that she chose life because he is an incredible kid. And I couldn't imagine our life. I don't really think, no, but I couldn't imagine our life without him being a part of it. He is such an awesome kid. And just to know that God has his hand on his life. And I can't wait to see the man of God he becomes.
I cannot say anything better than that. I wholeheartedly agree with everything she said.
How beautiful that you guys have been able to expand your family and he gets to love you guys and you get to love him and your family has grown. And then you will have more grandkids one day, God willing, even through him and have such a big blessing of a family. So we're in really crazy cultural times, I would say. I would think maybe you guys might agree. What has it been like parenting children in the times that we're in? And how do you kind of make sense of all of that's happening in the world?
I mean, I tell them a lot of what my dad told me. He was like, look, when nonsense begins to make sense, you got a problem. There's a lot of this stuff that's happening. It's just nonsense. I mean, I'm like, it's nonsense. Like, what are you talking about? Like, what? And so I just tell them like that. I'm like, don't ever give this stuff a second thought. And you see all this gender stuff. I'm like, it's just a lot of nonsense.
Yeah.
It doesn't, I mean, I'm very, I guess, just blatantly like, don't even pay attention to that stuff.
Right. I saw you guys were on Dr. Carson's podcast not too long ago.
Yeah,
he's a dear
great.
friend of ours in the show. We've had him on a couple times and he's fantastic. And his show is called Common Sense. And that's what I think these days we're lacking, common sense. And, just like think with your head and be logical. And obviously focusing on God and what we know is true through the Bible. So
and we still love, I mean, I will say this. I love people regardless of where they're at. I'm never going to be mean to somebody because they're there. I'm never going to do that for sure. And I tell my kids that too. I want to make sure that's known.
No, for sure. We're like, we all need grace. We all need forgiveness. And you don't know what somebody is going through in their life. You don't know how they got to that place. And, that little bit of kindness might make them want to seek what's different about them, and Jesus is what's different. That's it.
Amen. How would you guys say that we as a country kind of get back to traditional values and Christian values?
I mean, if I'm being honest, I think only God can do that. So I just trust that he will. And and I just pray for people and like I said, love on people where they're at, and just trust him. I don't know what else you can really do. It's obviously, yeah, it's always good to be bold and stand up for your faith. I'm always going to do that. I think we have to. Um, but in the end, I think God's got this, no matter where it goes. I don't care who's president, I just trust in God. I think it's about all you can do in the end. So,
Yeah, for sure. Just getting into the word. And if you really believe it, then you're not going to pick it apart and say, well, this is truth, but this is not. This must change. This probably has changed. It's the truth. So you can either stand firm on that. Doesn't matter if it hurts your feelings or you don't, doesn't conform to your reality of what you want life to be like. If he gives us the word so that we can know him and to see how we should live and interact. Right. So I think that's the truth is getting back to the word of God and knowing who he is.
Yeah, speaking truth and love is so important, I think. And a lot of people are worried about speaking truth and speaking biblical truth, that they're going to offend someone. And you don't have to do it offensively and rude. However, the truth does offend those who don't want to hear it.
Right.
And you
it
can't
depends
necessarily.
a lot of people who say they're Christians, and then you start really digging in there with them. They're like, wait a second, you're trying to tell me? And I'm like, yeah, that's what I'm telling you.
That you're like, I'm not telling you.
That's what God's telling you.
This is what it's saying,
Totally. So I've got a couple questions that some followers of the show sent in, and they want to know, how did you prepare your children your biological children for a new sibling coming in?
Oh gosh, we talked about it for so long, I feel like. And obviously we have, Willie and Corey have adopted kids. And so that as far as our family's concerned, our family was open to adoption for so long because we have so many people in our lives. Our church family has so many adopted kids. And so they've seen that and they were so excited. Obviously they have been begging for a sibling for a long time. And so it really wasn't a hard transition there. I feel like they were super excited and embraced him as one of their own.
It's so hard because you guys adopted as a baby. Maybe if the child was older, it might have been a little bit different if there's, some butting of the heads at some point in time, but a newborn, who doesn't love a newborn, right?
That's right. I actually work with a charity. It's called All God's Children International. And we do a lot of, we do international adoption. We do a lot of older kids.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, it's a totally different thing. And it's more, but we have awesome resources that kind of help with the other kids and stuff and kind of learn like how this is going to work and stuff. So it's always good if you want to adopt to look at those resources and, do those studies and stuff.
What was the name of the organization again?
All God's Children International.
Okay. We will look into it. And if you guys are listening, definitely look into it. Another question somebody submitted was, how do you find trusted adoption agencies?
Well, we were really fortunate. So I just went and I actually asked my sister-in-law, Corey Robertson, who they went through. And so obviously I trusted their method. They had already been through it. And so I think really vetting it, making sure our adoption attorney is a Christian woman and she does this because she loves children so much and she wants to help other people. Obviously we support birth mothers too. It is not a shameful thing. In fact, it is selfless. They're sacrificing. I can't even imagine being at a point where I could not raise my own child. And so you also want that. You don't want, it's not a shameful thing. And she is super great with birth mothers as well as adopted families. And so we really just seeking that. What is the heart of the mission there? Obviously you going into it, you have the heart to want to adopt and love another child and change a legacy forever. But,
I can personally speak for AGCI, the charity I work with. I personally vetted them, know them super well. The president's amazing. Her parents started it, so they've been doing it since the early '90s. So that's one thing I would say. Something that's very well established.
Yes,
is a good thing to look at.
When it comes to domestic and international, how did you guys choose which one to do? I know you said a little bit of it had to do with the show. Was that kind of solely it? Or, I mean, there's children all over the world that, need a home, and we see a lot of international things, especially in Hollywood, but there's also children right here on our own soil that need the same.
Yeah, I think that we didn't really discuss it as much. Our nephew was a domestic adoption as well, and so for me, I knew that a lot of international adoptions take a while. Like the process sometimes take over a year after the child's been born, and so I did want to be able to bring in a child soon after they were born so they could acclimate to being in our family and our kids could acclimate to them being there. And so I feel like that kind of played a role is like we knew there was children in our areas and states, the state over, which is where Gus is from. But we knew that there's children like everywhere that need homes. So we just kind of went with this a little more simpler route because our adoption attorney, I don't think she does international adoption, does she?
No.
Okay.
No, she
Sorry. I was like, I could be wrong.
I mean, and what was so cool about her is like, and we had heard such awesome things, and I never forget. I was telling Jess the other day this, and you said you didn't remember, but we came in there and she was like, "Okay, guys, first thing we're gonna do is get on our knees," and I was like, "Okay." And she was like, "We're gonna pray about because
Oh, I love
we
that.
didn't know she was a follower of Jesus. We didn't know anything. We just heard like she was really great, and so and when it started like that, I was like, oh my gosh, this is gonna be awesome. So.
Yeah. Adoption is something that is so beautiful, but at the same time it always starts with loss. And I think that's something that people going into it need to understand and pray about because yes, even adopting a newborn, there is going to be some trauma there, right? And that's something that whether it's a newborn or a teenager that you're adopting, you're going to deal with some element of that. And you're there to help shoulder that with them and love them through it. How would you say that you guys have dealt with some of those things as it relates to, trauma and loss being the kind of beginning stages of something so beautiful?
Well, I'll say that we definitely have experienced other things with Gus. I've shared a little bit that he's had when he was younger, especially when he was younger, he had sensory issues. So our biological kids didn't have those issues. So it was new to us, right? And you
Yeah.
think, oh, well, you were 3 days old when you came in our life. We raised you the same way, so you think, oh, they're gonna react and interact the same way as your other kids did, but it was total opposite. And so there were challenges. Like we were like, we don't know what we're doing here in a way. We've already raised 4 kids, but the sensory issues and things like that, let alone the difference in color. Like what we found out is Jep kind of was introduced to AGCI, All God's Children International, a few years after Gus was born. But knowing the trauma, even in utero, like there's trauma. So being given up for adoption, there's going to be things that he deals with that you think, oh no, well you were a baby when we got you, so you didn't go through any trauma. But there's still trauma that you're
genetic. It's passed down through genetics. There's genetic trauma through different things.
Yeah.
And Gus, I mean, my dad would say he's high strung. He is very high strung. Like his motor goes, and that's been a challenge at times.
Yeah.
We've learned for him specifically, sports is a very good outlet for him to go run and go as fast as he can, wide open, and it calms him down. So let's keep
Yeah.
him.
And that's not to scare anybody, obviously, from adoption.
No.
It's just
No.
to like, people need to go into it with, not with the, I want to expand my family and I love babies and this is going to be something beautiful, because there are challenges that come with it. And you have to go into it with the right mindset of, I'm doing this, yes, because I do want to grow my family, but also because I want to love this child unconditionally, the best way for them. And a lot of times that's learning how to deal with trauma. And that goes for the same with children in foster care too. Learning about that and being able to shoulder that burden with them. What has been the biggest surprise since adopting Gus? You do research on adoption, you kind of read the books, maybe you know what to expect, but what has been the biggest surprise since adopting him?
What would you say?
I mean, I would really just say like before when I was saying that for me, like we went into it thinking we're fixing to bless and we're going to change, the whole legacy of this child's life. Like we want to do this. We love kids so much. I would adopt many more, but like we went into it because we had that love for other people, other children. And so but you go into it thinking we're going to change and this is going to be a blessing for them. But in turn, like it's been more of a blessing for us, I feel like. I mean, we've had so much growth and even our kids, right? I mean, it was easy. We're just them four. It was easy bringing him in our life. But then when you go through those little challenges and sensory issues and just very, like you said, ADHD off the charts and different, things like that, you have to kind of watch your kids grow through that too. And it wasn't always easy for our biological kids to go through that and see that. And it takes so much energy to kind of hit that head on and see how to help him get through some challenges as a young kid. But in turn, I mean, God's in control, and He doesn't give you more than you can handle. And so if you lean on Him through those times too, and know that you're going to get through it and you just face things together, then it becomes this beautiful picture of, unconditional love and fighting for what's good and what you know to be right. Same thing with even fighting for things that I know are good for him. He may not understand at the time, but we know that we're getting through it and he's going to be stronger and we're going to be stronger on the other side.
Yeah. So Brave Books, which is who you wrote the children's book, Dear Valor, with, they do what I think they call it is see you at the library days. Do you guys have any upcoming? I know you just did a reading of your book when you launched it. Do you have anything coming up that people can look forward to? Maybe if they're in your area, do you guys have a special reading in the books or on the calendar?
We do. So we're going to do See You at the Library. It's in Bossier. You can go to bravebooks.com to actually see our location in Bossier, Louisiana. But we're really excited about that. We'll do a little story time with them. But yeah, we love Brave Books. We love being a part of their family. And you can go to bravebooks.com to get our book along with so many other amazing authors that we've got to come on board and join. So.
Where is Bossier? So I'm new to living in the South. I lived in Colorado the last 20 years. I'm now in Alabama, close to Fairhope, Daphne, Gulf Shores, that whole area.
Yeah.
How far is Bossier from here? Driving distance?
So Shreveport from Gulf Shores, yeah, I mean it is.
From Gulf Shores, we're like 6 hours. Because my oldest brother has a place there, and we go there every year. We go to Fort Morgan, actually.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, we know Fairhope. We drive through there for sure. Know that area well. So yeah, it's about. So we're more toward. So Bossier's a little more toward Texas, just about an hour.
Yeah.
So it's kind of right on the Louisiana-Texas border.
Yeah. Gotcha.
North.
I've got a 8 and a 5-year-old, and so I was like, maybe I could road trip over for that one and work with you guys to promote the book. Last question. If you guys could encourage people listening to speak out about their beliefs, whether it's Christian beliefs or supporting women in unplanned pregnancies or whatever it might be, how would you encourage them to speak out in a world that often tells them to be quiet?
I would say God will give you the courage, and it's okay to be nervous about it and kind of like, oh, I don't know. Once you just start talking, things are going to happen. And I truly believe the Holy Spirit, as a Christian, especially living in you, will help you give you the words. You don't have to know all the answers. Right. I don't know all the answers. A lot of times when I just talking to people, I'm just telling them about my life and how I was before and how God changed me. And that's a very simple story.
Is that what you, do you feel the same, Jessica?
Oh, yeah. I think that sometimes we overthink things and we get scared, and timid. Jep and I say we're not speakers. Like all his other brothers are gifted. His dad's gifted, at going out and speaking to thousands and thousands and hundreds of thousands.
I'm a normal person. Like I get up there and I'm like, oh crap, I'm so nervous.
That's not,
Yeah.
I always say, well, that's not our gift, but that doesn't mean we don't have a voice. And I saw a podcast lately of Phil saying it's small things. It doesn't have to, just because you don't do something on a scale that's thousands or hundreds of thousands of people. Like we are really personal and interactive with our friends and community and people that we see that might need help. And I think that's what it is. It's small things. It doesn't have to be something where everybody sees it and knows that you shared Jesus and then all these thousands. It could be, it's one person at a time. And so I think that just being that way, being able to step out of your comfort zone and using kind of what we're doing is like, God, you built this platform. What do you want to do with it? Not what do I want to do with it? And that could be a platform, that could be a small group for women, that could be anywhere, but just being bold enough to say, hey, I love Jesus and this is what he's done in my life, and he can change your life no matter what situation you're in.
Absolutely. And what a domino effect that can have, just even if you're talking to one person and making an impact in their life, and then they go talk to somebody else, and you never really know how far that goes. So where can everybody find Dear Valor? Where can they find you two? Where's the show that they can watch now? Give us all the details of people who want to follow up.
Okay, so Duck Family Treasure is on Fox Nation, so you can go there. I think that airs some on Fox Business as well. You can find us. Our social media handle is Jessica Duckwife. His is Jep Robertson on Instagram. And you can get Dear Valor, which is part of the Freedom Island series, at bravebooks.com and become part of the Brave family with us.
Which is a series, right? They have different books that come out all the time, and each one is on a different topic, and they're all for children.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No, you're going to do better than I am.
No. Each book. So this is part of the Freedom Island series, and it's such a sweet series because you can grow with the characters. So our adoption story is kind of a backstory of Valor. You already knew he was adopted, but it kind of goes into detail about his little story. But every single story has some little life lesson. You never have to worry about what's in the book. It has traditional biblical values. There's interactive activities in the back of the book for families that you can play games with the kids and talk about things.
Actually, the funniest thing ever was we were just doing a podcast with my Uncle Si, and he said those games in the back were so fun. True story. He really played all the games. I was like, only him would like a 75-year-old man was like, those games were fun.
So it's just they're super sweet, and like you said, that you can grow with the characters. So it's not like a one story and then it's to another one. The story keeps evolving and keeps going, and so you can kind of watch these characters grow.
Yeah, and you can do a subscription, which is really exciting for the kids to get it in the mail and have a new book to read. I have avid readers in my house, and it's very hard for my 8-year-old especially to even keep books in the house because she goes through them so fast. So knowing that there's more coming in the mail if you subscribe is great. And then there's the See You at the Library, which we just talked about briefly, that people can go and check that out. I know Kirk Cameron is heavily involved with Brave Books, who's another dear friend of the show and is fantastic. Thank you both so much for joining the show. Thank you for being a bold voice for adoption and Christian family values. It is so appreciated in today's day and age.
Thank you for it. We really appreciate it.